saying, well, my friend,
Tape, this is tape 77.3, side 1.
Derikis means he is crawling. Derikispari means he is crawling around. Dewiat means he jumped. Suksasawiyat means you step over something. You step over the fence. Sukskasawiyat means to step over a fence with your, to straddle over a fence and to get over. Sukskasawiyat. Diuhgad, he crawled under. Dihuhgad means he is under the water going. Dihuhgad. Dikadarit, that means he is behind an object. Dikadarit. Dikadaku means he is in school. But it also means he is behind an object, which was probably referred to as a desk. When the students way back in the 1800s, probably in the 1840s or so, when the Pawnees had two churchmen with them at Nebraska. They started a little school, and they probably had little benches and tables. So the man stood in front of them, the teacher, and these people, the students, sat on these little benches behind the desks. So this is why they say they are behind the object. Tikataku, he is behind. That means, literally in English, you're saying he is behind. In Pawnee, it means he is going to school.
Say.
Tirakataku means they are in school. Meaning they are behind an object. The object probably being the discs. To go around an object, in Pawnee you say Tatera Pira. Tatera Pira means he came around an object. Tatera Pira. Tatera Pira means he went around an object. To reach behind something, you say Suksikskata. Suksikskata. To reach around oneself, you say Wittasuksikskata. Wittasuksikskata. Suksividividat means to roll over the other way, away from the man that's talking. Suksividividat means to roll away from. And I had gone for weeks and months, and I was in strange, different. I saw everything was changed. The foliage was all changed, and the land was all changed. And he was very cautious, And then he'd go up a hill and lay down and crawl, and then look down on the other side. And just for any reason, he would hide. This is what it means, In other words, he was everything was. It was such a strange place that he didn't no more. He no more had his environment is all changed.
I can get that feeling.
And that's what this is a fairy tale,
Just like if you were scouting enemy country in South Vietnam, there's palm or far prayer line. So any motion or anything at all would make you have that
Any noise or anything.
Noise or movement or sound. The sounds are all different.
I was telling old Thurman once. He was at the house there, and I said, Thurman, I said, when you were, he said he was on Saipan. I said, Thurman, when you guys were on Saipan and trying to rout those guys out of there, I said, did you ever see him face to face, other than being captured with, other with captives? He says, you know, he says, one time he said, we got 10 feet apart. He says, and you couldn't even see each other. He said, that grass was high, and he said, we were crawling along. He says, and they tell us, if you come in, if you're not on solid ground, get your bayonet and just start sticking. There may be somebody hiding somewhere under brush or anything, you know. Get them out of there. He said, I was crawling along, he says, and suddenly, well, he said, there was a little cliff there. He said, just about high as my head. He said, in fact, he said, the top of these grass was just at the top of the cliff, you know. He said, so I was laying there, and I thought, daggum, boy, do I dare crawl up there? He said he was laying there looking up, you know. He said he thought, well, it'll be about a lot of smoke. He said, so he took a cigarette and lit it. He said he just lit it. Took about 2 or 3 puffs. He said he was laying there like that. He said suddenly he saw hands come out and pull that grass like that. And he said, boy, big old Japanese piece came out, you know. Right above him. He said, I'm laying there like that, looking right at him. He said he looked out like that, and he said he stick his head clear out. He says, and he looked around like, he said he never did look down.
That's smoke. That's smoke.
Yeah. He said he looked like that, you know. He says, and he says, about time he went back, he said that cigarette had dropped out of my mouth and burned a hell of a big, he said, burned a hell of a big sword on my head. He said, I didn't even feel it, boy. He said when he went back, he said suddenly something was burning me. He said, I looked down and he says, boy, that cigarette, and he said, it made a great big sore. Yeah.
So frightened.
He says, by God, he said, that son of a bitch scared the hell. You know, and he don't have to get on a horse. And that horse rides towards people, and he puts his head down and he rides along the edge, walks along the edge. You mean to him. He's not, that horse don't know anything about pride because you mean to him. But if you take care of him and you curry him and you have compassion for him, when you get on, he's going to want people to know he's proud. And horses are smart. When there's people about, boy, he's going to make that noise. He's going to neigh. People's going to look and they're going to see you. And that horse is going to try to make you. You know, and at the same time, this man is saying, well, my friend, I'll value these gifts that you give to me. And we all look to God, and maybe if you've had bad luck in the past, if you've lost loved ones, these good things you're doing, I'm going to pray. I'm saying this before God. Have compassion on you, and maybe maybe for a long time every morning you wake up when that sun is coming up, and that is part of God. When that sun comes up, He made it, so that's part of it. And He shines His light on you, and this is love that will come out, and you'll do good things to your people. And God sees these things, and maybe for a long time He'll let you wake up every morning and see your wife and see your children and see your grandchildren. And the more children God will let you have, and the more grandchildren you got, the more love is going to be in this family. And maybe for a long time God will allow this. You know, He doesn't have to say, but one of these days you're going to die. You know, says, but just be thankful to God that He's going to let you see these things. You know, this is the attitude. You know.
When as Black teachers, when white people meet each other, even under situations like that, you kind of break through each other. You can't get that openness. You can't have speeches like that.
No.
Very closed off.
Yeah, that's been very difficult for me because I don't. You should respond this way when people say something to you, and it's very difficult.
You sure can.
I used to hear this, and they'd both be talking at the same time, and it just seemed like it just added to each other's personality, or and people listening, little kids listening, hearing those people, we all got kind of heroes, and then you see some man that you kind of respect, and
come running in on horse.
Yeah, and then you give something to somebody, or he's the receiver, and you hear him talking, it kind of rubs off on you, you think, boy, that old man, you like him, you like him, and he's your hero, and there's certain people that you just kind of like, and even though they never even look at you or anything, you look at them every time you see them. You look at them. There's something about them. You'll never know what it is. It might be their height. It might be just the way they look, or it might be, the way they are to other people, it's just something about them that you got that respect for, and you see them coming down their eyes, and they'll be saying every day, every night, and every morning, the palms of my hands are up towards heaven, praying for these things like I'm talking. And how many times have God seen me with my hands, with the palms of my hands up to Him? And like in English you say, I open my heart, And each language has their own unique peculiarities that bring out the essence of people, by their language, And when you try to explain another language, it's just not there,
Well, we get what you're trying to say by, I guess, somebody trying to express these concepts, you just translate it automatically into your own thing, like open your heart. Now, when the palms up, that I can see that, as praying and something like that, and I automatically translate it into the deepest possible feeling I have, So maybe that much is not lost, in translation. If there is, there's a translation going on.
The language is limited, but your feelings are.
You can feel it when
your feelings, they can come together.
You try to feel because the person is trying to convey something.
Just like the other night when I was trying to say something about, and you see so many countries, have this, the hands together like this, They show these hands together like this, and usually show it with large sleeves, indicating indicating Christianity, But before there was ever Christianity, I believe people still put their hands together and and they'll hold them up,
Oh, and this thing here too is.
Yeah.
Is
and
you read these little stories about the ancient church fathers that 6th century AD, just after the church was beginning, they went out. They already thought Rome was 2 decades in. They went out to the desert and tried to find their God in the wilderness. And the way they prayed wasn't like that. They prayed like this. That's their way of praying.
Yeah. To the Indians, when they saw the preachers doing this, that was something that was real foreign to them. They, because all for centuries, they had gone out, with the hand, face east, and their hands up like this. The nearest they could see, the nearest they could visualize God was the sun. In our concept, we say God. There's this great power, and God took, and it's God, and He took part of Himself and made everything that you see. Okay, if He made everything, okay, in our concept, the sun is the brightest one. So we associate that more closer to God than the moon and the earth and the stars. So we say that we don't worship the sun, but that's God's wonder. So you say something to it, because in reality that is the part of God, and the same way with the earth, sun, moon, and everything else, And these hands, well, they say, this is the most open you can be, is to open your heart out, open your mind, and put your hands up,
I'm just thinking that a lot of people all over the world that adopted that gesture. Like, they didn't have to be taught to, they just did.
Yeah, it's something that's it's something that's just everybody saw,
Those Mohammedans,
kind of God, you give everything away. This is a sacrifice, It's a sacrifice, It's
You make yourself nude in front of God.
Yeah,
That's totally without anything.
You make yourself this is a real sacrifice, and it's considered a lot of compassion in it,
But here's a question I've got that's kind of worries me. You get gifts at giveaways, things like that. Bring things like that home. Now, when the next giveaway comes, are you supposed to keep those things forever, or do you give them away again in return, pass them to someone else who might need them?
Well, now...
how do you handle that? Because pretty soon you'd be piling up stuff that might not do you any good, and maybe other people might need it.
Yeah.
But then you don't want to give something away that somebody else had feeling for you gave to you.
Well, when you get something, you use it, and then you can give it to someone else. Now there are certain things, and somebody will give you something which somehow you'll know that it really meant a lot to this person.
Yeah.
You don't give that away.
No.
Okay.
Like a shawl or something like that where they worked on it.
Yeah, Yeah.
Yeah.
We would like to give that away again.
Like that rattle up there, that marvelous turtle.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But now like that blanket, well, they bought that.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I could wear it once or twice, or I don't wear it at all. I see somebody that's a real good friend of mine that I want to do something for. I call him and I'll put it around him and I say, this was given to me by so and so. I have never put it on. Then he knows that I sacrificed something because I like it.
The person that gave it to you wouldn't be offended if
No, it adds to them. You know, because I say, Bertha gave me this, and I've never wore it.
Okay, that's how you solve problems. I was wondering, Sue would have had that kind of problem, because they, at giveaway time, if they give away everything they had, they'd have to give away something they've already got from somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
That might be bad. Watch out, I tried that.
Untie that. Is it untied? Well then,
No, it isn't.
untie it.
It's not untied.
Well, yeah.
Look, that's why it wasn't coming out. Now.
Boy, I tell you.
Has he seen it?
Yeah. He didn't get all the way out of the bag.
I knew it was pearl shells and pearl bags. I've seen it. Lack of it. Look at that. That's a nice piece of work. I thought you carved that head out of wood when I looked inside the ice box and I saw the bone.
Yeah, that's the real McGee. Boy, he stretched that neck out there, didn't he? Boy, I bet if I carried it down there to those Mayas,
They'd understand.
I bet they'd say,
Beautiful thing.
It's like the New Year's, all the Aztecs all throughout the province and the streets broken. I mean, that thing you saw in Oaxaca, that's not new. That's something they've been doing since the Aztecs.
Oh, yeah. I think that was, the Aztecs were the first ones to do that. They were late coming.
Sure, I mean, I know the Aztecs were late coming, but that tradition goes back a long time.
Beyond that,
You get rid of stuff, you don't get yourself tied down to things. You keep your...
start over again.
Sure.
Get rid of the old problems, the old issues, and give it a new start.
Because, things you own and things you get a hold of come free. The way you have to make yourself over to.
it's all there. I went down there and I was talking to Stacey Howell. He was there, but his wife wasn't there. Yeah, and we were talking, and there was a guy came down there. He was sitting right straight across from us. You might not noticed him. He had on he had long hair, had a little beard, and he wasn't dressed too badly, And he came down there and sat down with Flea Johnson. Flea Johnson is married to Howell, Mildred Howell. Okay. So Flea said, he said, fellas, he said, look at this guy's cane. So he gave it to Stacy, and Stacy looked at it, and it was a stick about 5 feet long, and it had a turtle head, like a head like that on one end, snake head, and then it had little carvings on it. The bark left on made it look like carvings, but it wasn't really carvings. It was just that the bark was left on. And it went on down, clear down. It had a lot of things on it, stars and feathers, and that man that used to act with Yancey somebody, or somebody Yancey. His name was, that Indian guy's name was Pahu Katawa.
Oh, yeah.
You remember that old show? Who was that?
I
Jens Derringer.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jens Derringer. And I don't know who Jens Derringer was. He was one of those cowboy actors. And he said, this is the son of that man that acted as Jens's Indian part of Pahu. And I said, 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 Indian part of Pahu. And I said,